It had been years since the breakup when I ran into my ex-girlfriend again. She was now the city's youngest self-made billionaire. At a class reunion, her fiancé said, "Thanks to you. If you hadn't let go back then, the president of Thorn Corporation would be you right now." Her expression was cool as she said, "It's all in the past." The others, eager to stir things up, started teasing. Under her gaze, I silently covered the scar on my wrist and forced a smile. Yes, the two of us. We have no connection anymore. I remember it was Ethan who broke up with you, right? While her fiancé was in the restroom, our classmates started gossiping. Ethan was me. Chloe sat opposite me, a faint smile on her lips, but her eyes were coldly indifferent. This was the first time we had met in the 6 years since our breakup. Everything felt a bit sudden. I had only come because the class president said Chloe wouldn't be there. I never expected to see her. The Chloe of today was accomplished and famous, a distinguished talent in the city who had returned from overseas. The watch on her wrist alone was priceless. Everyone admired and respected her. In contrast, I was a shadow of my former self. It was indeed him who initiated the breakup, Chloe replied calmly, answering their curiosity. Everyone had their own theories, mostly that I had cheated or fallen for someone else. "Ethan, I heard you're in a lot of debt. Did you come to the reunion to borrow money?" "I also heard he's being kept by a rich woman." Amidst the jeers, Chloe's eyes remained fixed on me, unblinking. I smiled awkwardly, not answering. The door opened and Chloe's fiancé walked back in. Sensing the strange atmosphere, he smiled and asked, "What happened while I was gone?" Chloe, abandoning her earlier silence, linked her arm with his and said softly, "Nothing, just catching up." He sat down composedly, his gaze settling on me. He smiled. "Chloe has told me about you. If you hadn't let go back then, the president of Thorn Corporation would be you right now." A glint of schadenfreude appeared in many eyes. Back then, the Ford family was at its peak, and I was the center of attention wherever I went. This jealousy hadn't faded with time. Instead, it had become a reason for them to kick me while I was down years later. Chloe broke the awkward silence, her voice cool and firm. "It's all in the past." Everyone quieted down, understanding the unspoken message that the magnate didn't want to continue this topic, and they started talking about other things. Her fiancé raised his glass to me. "Thank you for letting her go. You must come to our wedding." I silently covered the scar on my wrist and numbly said, "Congratulations. Why didn't you explain things to her?" On the phone, my friend Jake was indignant on my behalf. The class reunion ended early. I stood in the cold wind, wrapped in my overcoat. My eyes filled with desolation. "She has a fiancé." The other end of the line went silent for a moment. "A fiancé?" Jake was incredulous. "Yeah." Classmates left in 2s and 3s. The streetlight cast a glow on the snow like shattered crystal. "It's a shame you finally saw her after working so hard for so long." "Jake, no one waits for you forever. Some things, if not said at the time, only cause more pain and serve no purpose later." The cold wind made my eyes sting. I laughed self-deprecatingly. Man, I give up. Even after struggling for so many years, clawing my way out of the mud, wanting to reunite with her in the most respectable way, it was too late. "All right, come back and we'll talk." The temperature before the new year had dropped below freezing. Taxis were hard to find. After standing for a while, my hands were numb. My phone showed queuing. The sound of high heels approached from behind, accompanied by her fiancé's solicitous voice. "Chloe, the snow is beautiful. It's cold out here. Go to the car first. I'll be there in a moment." Chloe's voice was clear, pleasant, and very distinctive. "Then hurry." As the man passed me, he gave me a meaningful look. Then he walked to a nearby car, opened the door, his movement deliberately exposing the wedding ring on his ring finger, which was particularly glaring. It was a Thorn family heirloom. It had once been on my hand. When we broke up, I had someone return it to Chloe. Everyone else had left. Only she and I remained. The car I had called hadn't arrived yet. Chloe stood behind me, silent. We stood there in silence, our two shadows overlapping under the streetlight. My thoughts drifted back to that year, the night of our breakup. Chloe had gotten into a car accident on her way to see me. Her best friend called, her tone unfriendly. Chloe's in the hospital. Is her life in danger? So you wouldn't come if it wasn't. Please take care of her. Ethan, she got the spot to go abroad. She'll make something of herself sooner or later. Why couldn't you wait a little longer? Are you that desperate for money? All those things she did for you, you could never repay her in 100 lifetimes. Have you forgotten all of it? Her best friend was practically hysterical on the phone, just short of calling me an ungrateful wolf. The phone was suddenly snatched away and hung up. It could be said that I abandoned her. It was normal for her to hate me. How much do you owe? Chloe's cold voice pulled me back from my memories. It's none of your business. I inhaled the cold air. My throat, irritated by the alcohol earlier, throbbed, and I suddenly started coughing. The cold air tore my windpipe, causing sharp pain. I bent over, leaning against the lamppost. The alcohol I had drunk earlier began to churn in my stomach, and I broke out in a cold sweat. Chloe stood beside me, watching coldly. A taxi slowly pulled up in front of me. The driver leaned out. Going to the Sterling residences? Yes. I propped myself up on my knees, took a breath, and reached for the car door, but someone grabbed my sleeve. Chloe asked coldly, "What are you going there for?" The Sterling residences was a wealthy neighborhood. They didn't easily let people in. I roughly tried to push Chloe's hand away, but she grabbed my wrist. Her burning touch seared my skin, the heat reaching my heart. I struggled twice, then couldn't bring myself to pull away anymore. Looking up at Chloe's dark, unreadable face, I asked, "What do you want to say, Miss Thorne?" She pursed her lips, her proud, beautiful face devoid of emotion. I forced a smile, voicing her thoughts. "You think, like everyone else, that my money isn't clean, right? $50,000 a month. Is that enough?" Chloe interrupted me, her face cold. "What do you mean?" A sneer finally appeared in Chloe's eyes. "Aren't you short on money? 50,000? 100,000? If it's not enough, you name the price." I suddenly yanked Chloe's hand away forcefully. Due to the excessive force, she lost her balance and stumbled back a few steps, hitting the lamppost. A man's exclamation sounded from a distance. He opened his car door and rushed out. "Live your life well. Don't overstep." I threw those words at her and left in the car. "You got rough with her?" Jake poured me a glass of hot water. "Yeah, she wanted to keep me." I curled up on the sofa, enduring waves of stomach cramps, and slowly drank the water. After a while, I suddenly turned and ran to the bathroom to throw up. Jake patted my back. "You drank even with your bad stomach." I took a few breaths, wiped the water from my lips after rinsing, my esophagus burning. Loving someone for so many years. Was it worth it? I looked up, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My dark hair was wet and stuck to my forehead, my face pale. Jake's complaints drifted from far away, indistinct. If you hadn't been so cruel and broken up with her, she wouldn't be where she is today. I thought of Chloe's fiancé again. Compared to me, he was more vibrant and knew how to please Chloe. I vaguely remembered being like that many years ago, but then I felt too hard. And by the time I crawled out of the gutter, everything had changed. After Jake finished his work at the Sterling residences, we walked shoulder to shoulder back to our rented apartment. I suddenly received a call from Chloe's best friend, Olivia. "Ethan, if you're having difficulties, I can arrange a job for you." I said nothing, waiting for her to continue. "They're getting married next month. Spencer is a good guy, and his family background isn't bad either. You won't bother them again. Don't worry." She was silent for a moment, then explained feebly, "We just want Chloe to be happy." All my friends from back then, without exception, had sided with Chloe. After hanging up, Jake smiled bitterly. "They don't understand anything. It's okay. Since I had to stay here for a while, I found a job not far from home." During the interview, the HR person asked suspiciously, "Do you have depression?" That was in the past. I'm better now. I have a doctor's certificate. Several previous companies had rejected me during background checks for this reason. This company was smaller, and I received the job offer that same evening. I thought the class reunion would be the last time Chloe and I would interact. Unexpectedly, 3 days later, Chloe parachuted into our company and became my boss, and my desk was moved to the entrance of Chloe's office. I refuse. "Fine. Chloe didn't even look up. Her voice was icy. Submit your resignation to HR. I was so angry I laughed. Just because I don't agree to move my desk, you're going to fire me? Her pen paused, and she finally deigned to look up and speak to me. I'm just offering you a choice. Did you think I was after something from you? I was speechless, remembering how Jake had argued with someone over a bit of rent last night. I forced a smile. Miss Thorne is a person of high moral character. Naturally, I have nothing to fear. Chloe nodded slightly. Thank you. Close the door on your way out. Also, your chair should face away from me. I don't want to see your face. The following days, we had almost no interaction. A week later, there was a company team-building event. Since I was new, I was pressured into drinking too much. Young Ethan, if you don't drink, your salary will be docked. Don't worry, if you get drunk, we'll take you back. You're a grown man. What's there to be afraid of? The manager smiled and urged me to drink. Amidst the jeers, I downed the last glass of the night and collapsed unconscious on the table. The next day, I woke up in a large bed. Bright sunlight made it hard to open my eyes. I sat up, pushed back the covers, revealing the soft bathrobe wrapped around me. I froze for a moment, then got up and walked out. In the spacious living room, Chloe was sitting at the dining table reading the morning paper, also wearing a hotel bathrobe. Seeing me, she glanced up coolly. Awake. Breakfast is on the table. A chill ran down my spine, and my face turned deathly pale. Chloe casually tossed the newspaper onto the coffee table and slightly loosened her collar, revealing an ambiguous kiss mark on her fair skin. Unfortunately, you initiated it last night. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. My memory of last night was completely blank. Impossible. Chloe placed a contract in front of me with my thumbprint on it. The gist was that I would be her lover and she would pay me $100,000 a month. This can't be my thumbprint. Really? Chloe chuckled. Are you sure? Facing her serious and frank gaze, I opened my mouth but couldn't utter a word. She ignored my unease and took out a recording pen. Last night, I accidentally recorded your monologue. Mr. Ford, would you like to hear your filthy thoughts? I shivered as if plunged into an ice cellar. A wave of immense shame washed over me. Such thoughts were disgusting enough when hidden. Now that they were spoken and used as evidence, it felt like I had committed a crime. Chloe's eyes narrowed slightly, her expression unreadable, lusting after an engaged woman. TSK, Ethan, how about we let them hear this recording? I clenched my fists tightly, my voice trembling. Are you retaliating against me? Yes, she replied nonchalantly. You didn't want me to have it easy back then. So why should I let you have it easy now? Two choices. Either fulfill the contract or I make the recording public. The clock in the corner ticked in sound along with my heartbeat thudding against my eardrums. My lips were chapped. I looked up numbly. Then make it public. Under her icy gaze, I said woodenly, Chloe, I won't be a homewrecker. Chloe stared at me intently, then smiled. Ethan, who do you think you are? Do you still have a right to choose? I found my disheveled clothes in the bathroom. Chloe's clothes were neatly hung on the rack by the door, a clear distinction. The scene stung my eyes. I sighed, silently changed, and walked out of the hotel. Jake called, his voice strained. Ethan, they want $500,000. The sky was gray and overcast. The sun was nowhere to be seen. Jake hadn't saved much money trying to pay for my treatment, and my own savings were pitifully small. They said if we don't pay, they'll expose your situation and won't tell you where your aunt's belongings and ashes are. I'll try to get an advance on my salary and borrow some from people. I should have it by next month. Okay. After much hesitation, I dialed a number. It took a while for the call to connect. Mr. Ford, is something wrong? I let out a breath. Dr. Evans, I'm so sorry to bother you. Dr. Evans seemed very busy on her end. After some shuffling, she found a quiet place and asked patiently, Are you in some difficulty? I took a deep breath. Could you lend me $40,000? This was the first time I had ever asked someone for money. After saying it, I felt like I was on fire. Suddenly, there was a commotion on her end. Dr. Evans, emergency surgery. Got it. I hadn't held out much hope, prepared for her to hang up directly. At the last moment, Dr. Evans said curtly, Text me your account number. I'll transfer it to you today. Then she hung up. The sky was still gray. The cold indifference of dial tones suddenly felt warm. In the evening, the manager knocked on my desk. We have dinner with a client tonight. You're coming. A few hours ago, I had just asked him for a month's salary in advance. With the borrowed money and my previous savings, I had barely scraped together $50,000. When I walked into the private room, I saw Chloe. She was a tall, enchanting figure, effortlessly mingling with the crowd. The light from the crystal chandelier outlined her delicate profile. The manager gently pushed me forward. Instantly, all eyes were on me. Miss Thorne, is this someone from your company? Chloe glanced over casually and smiled. Yes, a newcomer. What kind of newcomer needs Miss Thorne to personally bring them? He's good-looking. Amidst the idle chat, everyone sat down. The manager placed me next to Chloe and whispered, "Be sharp tonight. Block drinks when you need to." Someone tactfully asked, "Miss Thorne, can your new employee drink or not?" Before Chloe could answer, the manager quickly replied, "He can drink. He can drink." Then he pushed a glass of wine in front of me. "A toast first." Chloe smiled without saying a word, gently tapping the table. I picked up the glass, held my breath, and drank it all in one go. The spicy liquor rushed recklessly down my esophagus, igniting a fire that roared and churned in my stomach. Everyone cheered, ready to press on, but Chloe changed the subject. Where were we? Let's continue. The atmosphere was lively. Many people wanted to toast Chloe, but she used the excuse of a bad stomach and didn't drink a drop. In the end, the manager found ways to pour it all into my stomach. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and went to the restroom. The faucet in the sink was running. I kept dry heaving. My clean, neat shirt quickly became soaked. After texting Jake, I completely lost my strength, lowered my head, and leaned against the sink, closing my eyes and panting heavily. Unhurried footsteps approached from outside the door. The door was pushed open. I thought it was someone coming to use the restroom. Unexpectedly, Chloe's voice came. "Come. I can't hold on anymore." I gathered my strength, pushed myself up, and swayed as I tried to walk out. Chloe grabbed my arm and dragged me back. She pressed me against the sink, examining me closely. "Let go of me." Stomach acid had corroded my throat. Every word I spoke caused pain. Chloe easily dragged me to the mirror, made me face it, and leaned on my shoulder, smiling. "Take a good look at yourself. If you go out like this, aren't you afraid of attracting unwanted attention?" In the mirror, my eyes were glazed and my collar was open. Chloe, through the mirror, brazenly scrutinized my body. I closed my eyes. Who could have more ulterior motives than you? Chloe chuckled, her lips brushing my ear. "Come back with me tonight." "Okay, get lost." She ruthlessly silenced me, wantonly depleting the oxygen in my lungs. Under the influence of alcohol, my blood felt like boiling lava rushing madly through my body. The light blurred into a mass. Water droplets seemed to be seen through a film, drop by drop, like sulfuric acid on my heart. It was agonizing. I felt like I was being dragged back to those dark days again, despairingly gazing at this dazzling, colorful world, feeling utterly out of place. "Chloe, can you please let me go?" I was falling silently, crashing hard into the bottom of a well. It was probably painful, but I couldn't feel it anymore. "Ethan," Chloe was calling me. Her eyes no longer held that look of wishing I were dead. She was panicking so much so that I couldn't tell if the person before me was the her of my youth or the her of today. I said, "Chloe, I never want to see you again." The high fever came on fiercely. My consciousness was muddled and my whole body ached terribly. The north wind howled outside the window. In a daze, I dreamed of the past. I was lying in a hospital bed asking, "Chloe, what if I die?" She held my hand, coaxing me softly. "Don't say such things. It's just a fever. You'll be fine after the shot." I asked, "Do you have enough money for living expenses?" "Shots are expensive." "It's okay." "How can it be okay? How many jobs are you working?" Chloe didn't answer. She rested her chin on her hand and said, "Seriously, as long as you're safe and sound, nothing else matters to me." I smiled bitterly. "When my parents stop fighting, I'll ask them for living expenses to pay you back." Chloe's eyes were gentle. "Trust me, we'll have money in the future, but I didn't end up safe and sound as she had hoped. The night Chloe went to another state for a competition, I came home and pushed open my parents' bedroom door. My dad was holding another woman in his arms. My glamorous life began to crumble from that moment. Then came my parents' violent quarrels, my dad's unannounced departure, and the Ford family's mounting debts. One late night, those middle-aged debt collectors came to our door. The swaying light overhead, the men's excited shouts, the dull pain on my skin, the disgusting touch, and my mom's heart-wrenching screams all mixed into a chaotic mess swirling in my mind. The scene was like a fast-forwarded movie. My mom was forced to her death in the bathtub by the creditors. Her body was exposed. Jake found me half dead and took me to the distant city of Asheville. On a rainy day, I knelt in a corner of the hospital, wearing mourning clothes, my expression haggard. He has a family history of hereditary depression. Does he have any other relatives? Jake looked at me with concern. He has a girlfriend competing in another city. Notify her to come over. The doctor's words, mixed with some professional jargon, continued. He has clear suicidal tendencies right now. Treatment will be very difficult. He won't be able to be left alone for several years. The family should be prepared for a long battle. At that time, my mental state was too fragile to report to the police, gather evidence, and seek justice. Jake and I were like two stray dogs. We fled the place where we had grown up, defeated and disgraced. On the same day, Chloe's name was first on the list of competition winners. She had secured a spot to study abroad. She called. When I answered, the sound of a howling wind came from the other end. Ethan, Chloe's voice was incredibly gentle. I didn't let you down. In 3 years, we'll get married. I looked at the slowly closing iron gate, unable to find my way home anymore. Chloe, I might not be able to be with you. Tears welled up in my eyes. I tilted my head back, took a deep breath, and then smiled nonchalantly. She held her breath. Why? I opened my mouth, hesitating for a moment. Her future was bright. Did I really want to selfishly trap Chloe's future in the rainy, dreary city of Asheville for the rest of her life? Outside the window, a boy was crying uncontrollably, leaning against the fence. His girlfriend's face was numb and disgusted, a heartbreaking sight. I saw what it looked like when love disappeared from someone's eyes. It was devastating. The wind blew my hair back, revealing the scars all over my body. After a long pause, I said casually, Chloe, you take care of yourself. Let's just call it quits. The sound of an instrument beeping came from my ear. The evening sun filtered through the blinds, landing on a sofa not far away, like a beautiful layer of sprinkled gold. The nightmare gradually receded, and I sat up. A young woman sat on the sofa, quietly peeling an apple with her head down. Her fair, slender fingers were very nimble. In a short while, a whole, perfectly peeled fruit appeared, round and clean. It was Chloe. Hearing the movement, she looked up, met my gaze, silently stood up, and pressed the call bell. The doctor quickly came in, shone a light into my pupils, confirmed I was fine, then turned to Chloe and said, he's not getting enough nutrition in his daily diet. You can focus on supplementing more protein. Chloe nodded. Thank you. The door closed. She walked to the bedside, handed me the apple. Don't think about anything. Just focus on getting better. I didn't take it. Instead, I got out of bed and started rummaging through the closet. My phone was gone. There were no outdoor clothes either. She let me fuss around in the hospital room. Chloe, what are you trying to do? I stood barefoot on the floor. A ray of sunlight streamed in, reflecting my pale, haggard face on the glass. Don't you know what I want? Chloe placed the apple on the bedside table, took out a tissue, and slowly wiped her hands clean. I want you, she said, sitting in the light, her beautiful eyes staring at me undisguisedly, her gaze scorching and humiliating. I trembled, clenching my fists. Chloe, you can't do this to me. Chloe stood up and walked over to me in a few steps. Why can't I? I like someone else. Please stop pestering me. Really? There wasn't a hint of a smile on Chloe's face. She cupped my face, stood on tiptoe, and leaned in. Her lips stopped a centimeter from mine. I couldn't break free. The moment I turned my head, I closed my eyes, my body shivering uncontrollably. Chloe smiled, her cool voice filling my ears. Ethan, you're lying. The private hospital was located in the suburbs with endless forests outside the window. I couldn't get out, nor could I contact anyone. I had tried to seek help from the doctors and nurses, but they said they were powerless. Chloe came every day, mostly in the evening. She would arrive, travel-worn, and talk to me for a while. I was very resistant to her displays of affection, but Chloe didn't force it. Lately, I have been dreaming a lot about the past. Back then, I used to say Chloe's name all the time. To buy me banana milk, top student Chloe skipped class for the first time and got caught by the teacher. Later in college, rumors started spreading about her, and the campus heartthrob. I took a dozen subway stops and sat downstairs at the girls' dormitory. Chloe got dressed in the middle of the night, rushed downstairs, and hugged me coquettishly. If you want me, I'm yours, and in the future, it will only be you, Ethan. I love you so much, so much. Back then, we probably couldn't have guessed that things would turn out this way more than a decade later. Tomorrow, I'm getting married. The sun hadn't set yet outside the window. Its warmth lingered. Chloe's voice pulled my distant thoughts back. Do you have anything to say to me? I held the cold water cup, staring at her face, lost in thought. I suddenly understood why I had been dreaming so frequently lately. I was saying goodbye to the Ethan and Chloe of the past. The news on TV every day was about her and Spencer, a golden couple, a match made in heaven. That was once the future we hoped for. But the Ethan of today, a mess of debts. What did he have? Congratulations, I said. May you have a child soon. Chloe's apple-peeling motion paused. The knife grazed her finger, and blood quickly seeped out. She froze for a moment, took out a tissue to press on it, lowered her head, and smiled. It's okay. It's just a formality with him. Do you want us to have our own child? I have no objection. Chloe, let's just leave it at that. Okay. I suddenly felt very tired. Let's all be dignified. Chloe stopped peeling the apple, tossed it back into the fruit basket, and stared at me, a sarcastic smile on her face. Just leave it at that. Why? You started it. In the end, you say you're tired of it and walk away, and I'm left scathed. What does that make me? A dog. I closed my eyes, dispelling the halo of sunlight in my vision. Then I'll get it back to you. Chloe stiffened. What did you say? I looked at the setting sun. You don't want me to live well. I can die. My chin was suddenly grabbed. My head turned. I met Chloe's furious eyes. Ethan, are you sick? If you wanted to die so badly, why didn't you die back then? I don't remember when she left. That night, Chloe's best friend, Olivia, also a friend of mine from many years ago, pushed open the door and burst in. Ethan, what did you promise me? Her barrage of questions stunned me. Do you know how much Chloe will lose by breaking off the engagement? You're an adult now. Can you stop being as willful as you were back then, letting Chloe take care of everything for you? Can you think about her for once? What's wrong? What's wrong? Olivia laughed angrily, roaring at me. Chloe is calling off the wedding because of you, and you're asking me what's wrong? My ears were ringing. I sat there in a daze, my mind blank. She publicly called off the wedding. What did that leave me? A homewrecker destroying someone else's family. Olivia forcefully dragged me out of bed. Come with me. Weren't you good at this back then? Tired of it. Found someone new. So many excuses. Just pick one, Olivia. Ethan. Olivia trembled with anger. If you hadn't come back, would any of this have happened? The roar echoed in the snowstorm. The north wind howled, freezing all my senses. My ears were ringing. I couldn't hear anything. Her eyes held an unprecedented hatred, as if someone like me deserved to die. Olivia, she's the one who won't let me go. Olivia's face turned cold. After this is over, I'll send you away. The office building was brightly lit late at night. Olivia dragged me in, but unfortunately, the press conference had already begun. Chloe sat calmly under the spotlight. I hear the reason you called off the wedding is because of a third party's interference. Facing the reporter's question, she handled it with ease. Mr. Hayes and I had some disagreements. We broke up amicably. Olivia's face was ashen. She gripped my wrist tightly, not allowing me to move. But according to insiders, you and your first love have rekindled your old flame. Chloe was composed. These are all rumors. If there are no other questions, today's press conference ends here. The moment she stood up, someone suddenly shouted, He's here. That's him. All the cameras in the room instantly turned towards us. I was exposed under the spotlight, disheveled and stunned. Reporters swarmed in. In just a few seconds, we were surrounded. Question after question rained down. What is your relationship with Chloe Thorne? Did you really interfere in someone else's marriage? The camera shutters clicked incessantly. Chloe's smile suddenly froze. She stood up, pushed through the crowd, and walked towards me. No, I didn't. I refuted weakly, but my voice was quickly drowned out by their intense curiosity. The questions kept coming. There's new breaking news. A reporter shouted excitedly, holding up his phone. My voice came from it, hazy with drunkenness, like sleep talking. Chloe, I love you. It was the recording pen. My heart pounded with fear. I once thought that nothing could make my life worse. When this storm truly arrived, I was completely destroyed. Isn't this just a homewrecker? Shameless. The crowd's whispers were like a slap in my face. The color drained from my face instantly. The recording nailed me to the pillar of shame. I'm sorry, Olivia. Get him out of here. Chloe pushed through the crowd, a panicked expression on her face for the first time. My vision went white. I only heard that person enunciate each word. Father in debt, mother shamed into suicide, suffers from severe hereditary depression, was confined in Asheville Psychiatric Hospital for 5 years. Isn't this just a mental patient? It was like a stone thrown into a calm lake, causing a huge uproar. The crowd was in an uproar. Why is a mental patient out here harming people? Are they sick? Why don't they just die? Chloe's steps faltered. She suddenly looked up at me. Shock, disbelief, incredulity. I stood in the noisy crowd, my blood turning colder and colder until my whole body was chilled to the bone. Ethan, Chloe called me, her voice trembling. I knew what was coming next. I was just calmly waiting for the axe to fall to completely destroy my life. He was also sexually assaulted. A grown man played with. This was the last sentence of the anonymous tip. The moment she heard it, Chloe's face turned as white as paper. Since that day, after returning from the company, Chloe hadn't spoken a word. The blinds had been closed for 3 days. No light could penetrate the dim room. Unanswered calls dominated her phone screen. She hadn't clicked on a single one. Time seemed to have pressed pause on her. Chloe sat there, curled up, lifeless. She still remembered the man's cold tone when he took Ethan away. He had said, "We all hoped he would live. Miss Thorne, you truly have an iron fist. You effortlessly made all our efforts go to waste." Jake was stopped by security outside, roaring at her. "Chloe, don't you know he'll have an episode if he doesn't take his medicine? Keeping him locked up is no different from murder, depression, psychiatric hospital." These words, like countless sharp thorns, churned recklessly in her thoughts, cruelly tugging at her nerves. Olivia knocked on the door, then pushed it open a crack, standing at the entrance. "Chloe, are you feeling better?" "What?" Chloe's voice was hoarse. The dull pain in her chest was agonizing. Olivia was silent for a moment. "I'm sorry. I didn't think it was necessary to investigate back then." "So, the information was fake, wasn't it?" Chloe's voice was very soft. "Olivia, while you were telling me he was living a carefree life abroad, Ethan was locked up in a psychiatric hospital in Asheville. I'm sorry, I didn't know." This explanation was pale and feeble. She knew she couldn't blame Olivia entirely. If she had just asked a few more questions, perhaps things wouldn't have turned out this way. Chloe no longer had the energy to listen to Olivia's excuses. Jake, ignoring the secretary's attempts to stop him, pushed open the door and entered. The glaring light made Chloe squint, but she didn't stop him. The secretary apologized profusely. "I'm sorry, Miss Thorne. I couldn't stop him." "Leave," Chloe said. The secretary carefully closed the door behind them, and the room returned to its dimness. Jake stood there, seemingly wanting nothing to do with her. "Miss Thorne, there are some things that can be said now." The window was open a crack. The cold wind was bone-chilling. Chloe sat there motionless, just listening quietly. Wrongdoings always lead to retribution. Sooner or later, last year on Ethan's birthday, I jokingly asked him who he loved most in the world. He said the first was his mother, the second was Chloe. Chloe closed her eyes, feeling that this sentence chilled her to the bone. At that time, his illness had just stabilized. He only needed to take a small pill every day to be like a normal person. So this year, to sort out his aunt's belongings, I brought him back. Jake's eyes were red. He always said that the breakup back then was too undignified. This time, he wanted to reunite with you properly, even just to see his great entrepreneur from afar. That would be enough because he knew he wasn't good enough for you anymore. Chloe, was he not good enough for you? Do you know how the competition spot was won? Chloe's hand slowly tightened, as if she could see the truths that were about to crush her. It was already internally decided. It was Ethan who wrote a letter of complaint demanding fairness and transparency. That's how the spot fell to you. But correspondingly, he offended many people. So much so that later, after his dad ran off, he and his mother were harassed by many. That invisible large hand was choking Chloe's neck. She was in too much pain to breathe. He had been bullied. Was it because of this? Jake continued. At that time, you were competing in another state and hadn't called back for about a week. So, you probably didn't know that things here had turned upside down. The Ford family fell. His dad ran off with his mistress, and a bunch of debt collectors were at their door every day demanding Ethan and his mom's lives. His aunt was shamed into suicide. Ethan fought desperately with them, almost lost his life, and then those disgusting things were done to him. After that, he had an episode. At his worst, I couldn't take my eyes off him for a second. He was tortured beyond recognition back then. Jake stared intently at Chloe. When you had the car accident, Ethan went crazy, begging me to let him die. How could you expect him to go to you? Chloe's face was ashen. She closed her eyes. The memories of the past few months tortured her relentlessly. She had allowed the manager to get Ethan drunk and send him to her room. She had lured him into confessing his true feelings while drunk, and then insanely forged a fake agreement with no legal validity just to see him struggle and suffer. Humiliation and mockery time and time again. Finally, she had stubbornly locked him up in a private hospital in the suburbs. Jake had come to see her many times, but she refused to meet him. She had asked him if he was sick, asked him why he didn't die back then. Ethan's eyes grew increasingly vacant. He would often stare at her motionless. She had mistakenly believed that Ethan still loved her then. But thinking about it now, Chloe silently questioned how she could have treated him so cruelly. Why didn't you tell me? Jake smiled bitterly. How could I explain? He was sick. Even living was a luxury. The only thing he could do was to prevent the people he cared about from being dragged down by him. He valued your studies above all else. That competition was your chance to turn things around, an opportunity he fought for with his life. He just wanted you to be well, Chloe. Did he deserve to die? Did he deserve to die? This question was like a heavy hammer striking Chloe's heart fiercely. She was the one who entangled him, tortured him, and made a fool of him. She was the one who knew he had a good upbringing and used the contract to insult him. She was the one who deserved to die. We tried many ways to reignite Ethan's will to live. In the end, we found that only one thing worked for him. Chloe suddenly didn't dare to listen further. Jake smiled bitterly and said, "Your name?" He always remembered his great entrepreneur. When I left, I joked with Jake, saying I would never come back to this place. As it turns out, you shouldn't make promises you can't keep. I was sick again. Asheville was only dry in winter. In previous years, it would be freezing rain, but this year, unusually, it snowed. When the doctors and nurses chatted, they said, "This year is a cold winter." TSK, TSK. The Earth's climate is becoming less and less suitable for human survival. It was almost a new year. The tree branches outside the window were bare. Not a single leaf left. I pressed my face against the window pane, my breath fogging up a layer of mist. There's someone downstairs. She stands there every day. Isn't she cold? Jake replied expressionlessly. Oh, really? Probably not cold. He hadn't been in a good mood lately. So much so that I didn't dare say much every day, lest we argue again. Jake handed me a glass of water. Drink it. Take your medicine in an hour. Dr. Evans said she wants you to build a snowman with her tonight. I glanced at the person again. Feeling a sense of familiarity, Jake pulled the curtains for me. Stop looking or you'll go blind. Oh, I went back to bed. After taking my medicine, I leaned against the pillow and played games. I could hear Jake and Dr. Evans talking outside. Then she pushed open the door and came in. I quickly hid my phone, sat up straight, and forced a smile. I've taken my medicine. The smell of disinfectant instantly filled the room. Dr. Evans' gaze swept over me, finally settling on my face. Mr. Ford, I won't scold you for playing games. I blushed deeply. How did you know I was playing games? I play too. I'm very familiar with the background music. Dr. Evans washed her hands, took off her white coat, and looked at me through the mirror, a slight smile on her face. Aren't you going to get dressed? You're going to build a snowman with me. She was from the thoracic surgery department of the same hospital. The first time I saw her, it seemed to be in autumn. The weather was unusually sunny. I was squatting by the fence, picking foxtails from outside. Dr. Evans walked by and looked down at me. I said, "Excuse me, could you help me pick that up?" She looked up at the hospital sign and said regretfully, "According to regulations, you cannot touch anything dangerous." Seeing that I didn't move, she asked again, "What do you want to do with it?" "Hold it in my mouth." Dr. Evans looked at the time, squatted down, and said with a grin, "Then I'll watch you. When the time is up, I'll take the grass away." Her lunch break was very short. I quietly stayed with her, separated by the fence, for a while. Finally, when she was about to leave, I said, "Thank you." Later, I ran into her a few more times. She was very busy and didn't pay much attention to me until one day she came again with a few stray hairs sticking up on her head. "Sorry, I've been too busy lately." Later, she started chatting with me. "You seem to talk very little, Em." "I can't talk too much." "Why?" "I'm sick. I probably can't say anything cheerful. I can't dump my emotional garbage on others." Dr. Evans stared at me at that time without saying a word. Later, she started coming more frequently. Sometimes she would be very tired. I tried to learn a few jokes to tell her. Every time, Dr. Evans would watch me intently. She asked, "Ethan, what is your wish?" "I hope everyone is happy, including myself." I quickly put on my gear. After Dr. Evans put on her down jacket, she linked her arm with mine, and we went downstairs. There was a security gate every few steps here. Only she could take me out. Under the night sky, snow fell heavily. Dr. Evans handed me a small shovel and smiled. "I want to see you build a snowman for me." "Okay." The cold air inexplicably put me in a good mood. I carried the shovel and circled the frozen fountain. When I turned around, I suddenly saw Chloe standing not far away. Her considerably thinner, pretty face was pale. Her eyes were red, looking at me. "Chloe." My voice was soft, somewhat surprised. Chloe's lips moved. "Ethan, I was wrong. If it were before, I would have definitely smiled and teased. Where could the young miss be wrong now?" I just held the snow shovel, feeling a bit awkward, and said, "It's okay. I had experienced too much suffering, and my edges had long been smoothed." The wind and snow howled in the dark night. Chloe slowly approached, her voice soft. "How can it be okay, Ethan? Please say something to me." "Okay." I thought for a moment. "I wish us good health in the new year." In that instant, the color drained from Chloe's face. Tears streamed down her face, and she trembled. "Don't treat me like this, please." I touched her face. It was very cold, very cool. Just like back then, I cupped her face and said, "Seriously, I wanted to choose a dignified way to see you, but it ended up a mess." "I'm sorry it was my fault," Chloe said. "If I had, then I chose to leave your life. You can't blame others." I spoke very slowly and also a bit sadly. At the class reunion, I asked the class president. "I only went because you weren't there. I don't know why she lied to me. I just wanted to hear some news about you to see if you were doing well." Chloe cried uncontrollably. "I'm sorry it was me. I did it on purpose." "Is that so?" I smiled, an indescribable feeling in my heart. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I wasn't there for you when you were at your lowest." Chloe held my hand and finally noticed the scar on my wrist. "You don't need to feel sorry. I didn't want to force you to stay." Many years later, we would live a hard life together, bringing up old scores when we argued, counting who owed whom. I patiently brushed the snowflakes from her eyelashes. "Chloe, seeing you so successful, I'm really happy, but I said I wanted to make money for you to spend." Chloe held my hand. "Without you, what do I need those things for?" I patted her head and smiled. "Look, my scarf cost over $100. I have enough money now." The light in Chloe's eyes extinguished. She trembled and asked, "We can't go back, can we?" Chloe, you have your life, and I have to walk my own path. I'm not going back to New York. How could hurtful words be easily forgotten? Everyone has memories. I was nailed to the pillar of shame. If I went back, every step I took would be like walking on a knife's edge. That would be 10,000 times more painful than letting go of a relationship. Chloe gently took a breath, grasped my hand, and just like back then, warmed them up again. About the recording, I'm very sorry. I lured you into saying it. That night, I didn't touch you. My eyes welled up. Chloe then apologized to me. Say you're sorry. She was in agony, greedily engraving my face into her memory, making a final farewell. I'm sorry. I gently patted her shoulder. But in the end, I couldn't bring myself to say, it's okay, Chloe. May your remaining years be peaceful and happy. The snow in the sky grew heavier. I turned, took forceful strides, and tried to walk forward. Behind me, the wind and snow howled, the sound gradually fading. I didn't know if it was the sound of the wind or Chloe's crying. Dr. Evans stood under a dim yellow street light, wearing a camel-colored coat, her hands in her pockets. I could vaguely see her pretty features and focused gaze. I walked closer. She acted as if she hadn't seen anything and asked, "What did you see?" I forced a smile, looking a bit unsightly. Dr. Evans, ma'am, thank you. A few days later, I saw Chloe in the entertainment section of news. She had lost a lot of weight. Facing the interview, she told the media everything she had done in detail. It was she who had forced me. She had also guided me to say those things in the recording. At the same time, she also showed an agreement. The signatories were her and Spencer Hayes. A 2-year engagement period ending in an amicable breakup, a win-win cooperation. The two had never planned to get married. That night was the date originally written in the agreement to hold a press conference and announce the dissolution of the engagement. This incident undoubtedly brought a devastating blow to Chloe's company. Her years of accumulated reputation and status plummeted. But it was directed at someone else. Dr. Evans averted her gaze and complained softly. I heard you. You want to make tomato beef brisket, but last time you burned the pot, and I haven't bought a new one yet. Ethan pursed his lips, feeling a bit guilty. I'm sorry. Dr. Evans patted his shoulder as if patting a cute big white bear. You go home first. The son hasn't been fed yet. Where are you going to buy a pot? What about the brisket? Buy it together. So urgent. Yeah, I want to eat it tonight. Ethan shook his head and helplessly went into the building. Only then did Dr. Evans look over. Chloe had nothing to say, so she spoke first. Congratulations. Dr. Evans smiled. Thank you. Actually, she knew Chloe had misunderstood. The son was the cat she and Ethan were raising, but Dr. Evans didn't want to explain. Last year, when she brought Ethan down to build a snowman, she had given her a chance. No matter what, it was over between Chloe and him. They should both be well. His condition was stable. Dr. Evans was very direct. He has a very good temperament, doesn't get angry easily, and is a very good person. Chloe knew he was doing well because she knew what Ethan looked like when he was happy. Dr. Evans looked at her with sharp scrutiny. Chloe, how many years have you known Ethan? 14 years exactly. You know him better than I do. His birthday is coming up soon, and I want to get him a birthday present. Home-cooked food is fine. He can't eat spicy food, and he doesn't like sweets either. Chloe blurted it out without thinking. Dr. Evans nodded matter-of-factly. Thank you. 14 years exactly. You know him better than I do. These words were Dr. Evans's expression of dissatisfaction towards her. If she understood him, why would she hate Ethan so deeply? Why, in the following days, did she make him suffer so much? Chloe, a steady voice pierced through the wind and snow. Chloe suddenly turned her head and looked over. That face she had longed for day and night, just like that, unexpectedly burst into her vision. Even the curve of his smile was exactly the same as in her memory. Ethan held an umbrella and walked over somewhat surprised. Why are you here? Chloe's heart ached. She saw clarity and openness in his eyes. He had already let go. She was silent for a moment, then said, I'm here on business, just passing by. I ran into Miss Evans and chatted for a bit. Passing by the neighborhood, Ethan was a little confused. Dr. Evans asked, Why did you come down again? Ethan remembered something and handed her the umbrella. I saw it was snowing heavily, afraid you'd catch a cold. So, I came down to bring you an umbrella. When he spoke to Dr. Evans, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, his eyes warm. The scene stung Chloe's eyes. Would you like to come in for a bit? Dr. Evans asked politely. Chloe smiled. No thanks. I have a flight tonight. I'm in a hurry. Ethan suddenly remembered something and said, Wait for me. Then he turned and ran into the building. Dr. Evans, expressionless, also went up. Chloe waited downstairs for a while. The snow grew heavier. The sky was gray and overcast, pressing down on people's hearts. Her stomach started to hurt again. Olivia called. Chloe. She hesitated. Your test results are out. Stomach cancer. Chloe stood motionless. It was unclear if she heard or not. She looked up at the vast snow and said, Okay, I know. Then she hung up the phone. She acted as if nothing was wrong, continued to wait. Her eyes always fixed on the entrance of the building. A warm beam of light emerged from inside, landing on the snow, forming a trapezoid. After a while, Ethan came down alone. The wind was strong and the snow was heavy. Ethan stepped through the deep snow, holding a small red box, walked over, and handed it to Chloe. I baked these cookies myself. Take them to eat on the way. Chloe took it and suddenly remembered that many years ago, Ethan loved to bake. Back then, they were still terrible with a strong, eggy smell. All the failed products ended up in her stomach. He really had no talent for cooking. Chloe even said that in the future, Ethan was forbidden from entering the kitchen at home. In the blink of an eye, he could make them quite well. Ethan said very sincerely, Thank you for donating to us. Chloe knew that their organization helped people with psychological illnesses and financial difficulties, so she donated every month. She kept a very small portion for her own living expenses. Chloe said, You're welcome. The Chloe of today was accomplished and famous, a distinguished talent in the city who had returned from overseas. Ethan, Chloe smiled. How could that be? In the future, we'll still have to invite you for award ceremonies. Chloe's throat tightened. She didn't speak. He turned, crunched through the snow, and just as he was about to enter the door, he turned back and called her name, Chloe. Chloe immediately looked up, her heart suddenly coming alive. She waited for Ethan to say something. Ethan just smiled at her and said, Happy New Year. A very ordinary New Year's greeting. Not even health and happiness anymore. Chloe's heart returned to silence. She stood in the cold wind and replied, Happy New Year.